What's up, YouTube? Hope you guys been out there building shit. So, today, I just got done with the other side of the Dodge Ram project, taking off the control arms and putting new ones in, and the shocks and the whole front end's getting redone on this Ram. I uploaded another video a couple days ago. If you guys want to go back and check that one out, taking apart the first side. But now I got the second side apart and started getting it back together. So I hope you guys like the footage and hit like and subscribe. But overall, just know this project that you guys can take on too. It was really discouraging. It was difficult to get the bolts out. They were seized in and rusted and stuff. It definitely wasn't the funnest project out in the gravel in the driveway. I really wish that I had a flat, nice piece of concrete. But I'm getting it done. So enjoy the footage, guys. So this side was just as much of a nightmare. But I just got the last bolt, which was the one up there. I did damage my little thing a little bit, you know, my mount. But I mean, what else can you do? I had to use my plasma cutter, and I cut off the end of the bolt, and I just blasted in through that hole as deep as I could and kept blasting out as much of the bolt as I could, and then I put this in there and used the air hammer. So there we go. Now I'm going to be able to, and I got an extra set of jack stands for my dad to where we're doubled up. This side we're tripled up. We got the jack and 2 jack stands. That side we got 2 jack stands. So I felt like I was alright to drop this side down. I'm still waiting on the bolts, but that's alright. At least I know that it's all finally taken care of, you know, taken apart. You can see pieces of bolts, cut off bolts. Just, yeah, it was a pain. So I wouldn't suggest getting into this project unless you have a lot of tools. Have air tools, air hammers, you know, maybe a cutting torch, plasma cutter. It's not a beginner or an easy job, guys. If your control arm bolts have been in there for years and years, they're seized, they're stuck, they're rusted. So I'm not trying to discourage you guys, because this is the You Can Too channel. This is the Believe in What God Gave You channel. But there's some things that are safer and better left to people with more tools and more equipment, and they can do it in a more efficient manner. But I will tell you this, it's all apart now. And my self-esteem and my self-worth has shot up because I feel super good that I accomplished it finally. But holy moly, was it discouraging. Removing like 2 bolts a day. And I'm not kidding. I'm being dead serious. Like 2 bolts a day sometimes. Working 4 or 5, 6 hours. Also got help. I bolted the drop brackets to the sway bar on the ground, and then we sandwiched up the steering stabilizer thing and got those all started up in there. Once it's all together and I do an alignment and whatnot, then we'll, you know, start tightening everything up there. At least a rough alignment. For anybody wondering why I got this wire out here, I'm just going to give you guys a tip. If you lose your socket inside the frame rail, so I really had a lot of issues with this top control arm here, because my exhaust and that hole don't allow a lot of things to fit, right? So I ended up losing my socket in there a couple times, and I just wanted to show you guys. If you look down here, there's another hole in the frame. Go ahead and let the socket go down to that hole, and then you can use your finger and tip it up on end. And then once it's up on end, I use this electric wire because it's kind of thick and it's stiff. I was able to stick it up inside that socket and then push it all the way back up to here, where I could reach in again and grab it. So yeah, if you lose your socket in the frame rail, just a little trick for you guys. So went to Walmart, stocked back up on the PV Blaster and WD-40. Also got some Rust-Oleum. I basically went through my whole cans of WD-40 and stuff, and PB Blaster, getting the control arms and whatnot apart underneath this Dodge. Before I put it back together, I want to drop this jack back down and repaint this bucket with the Rust-Oleum and the mount and whatnot. Try to get it looking a little bit better under here. Figure I'm gonna get in the bottoms of these spring plates, or whatever you want to call them. I want to re-get, you know, kind of around where I nicked up, taking that stuff out, just to kind of prevent a little bit of rust. And because I figure I can't get underneath these springs once they're back in, but I can tape off everything else and spray the axle or whatever. So at least I'm going to get what I won't be able to get later. Also got the bottom of the coil there and tried to kind of blend it down the sides. I'm not planning on repainting everything perfect and cleaning it up, but I really don't want some blatant rust showing either, so that'll get rid of that. Coil bucket cleaned up and painted. So the other side's control arms are out. This side's control arms are out. It's all repainted. Not all repainted, but touched up. Got the jack under this side, and as all that's holding that side up is just the shock, but I'm replacing it, so I don't care that it's overextending or whatever. Anybody that wants to comment that. But this is able to move back and forth here, so looks like time to start getting my new Stryker control arms put in here with my new bolts. So finally got my bolts. Got a friend on his way to give me a hand getting these Stryker control arms put into the Cummins. Got that side's over there. Again, got the other one already down there. I'll show you guys. Just a suggestion for you guys, because I made this mistake a few times and I had to undo it and change it. Put the control arm into the frame side, the truck side first, and then the axle, because you can move the axle around and kind of get it positioned, but with the control arm into the axle, it's really difficult to move the axle and that control arm enough and get it positioned to line up the ones in the frame. So get the ones into the frame and then into the axle. I just got it set in there for now. I've got a friend on the way to help me move the axle while I get the bolts in. I picked up some anti-seize. I got all new bolts. Along with the anti-seize, I'm also greasing these up as I install them to where I don't have to get to the grease fittings. It's not too much of a pain. I'm just pre-greasing them and then installing them. Hopefully I can get to the grease fittings later, the way that I orientated them. If not, I might have to get some grease fittings with a little 45 or whatever, so we'll see. I did get this touch-up painted a little bit. You guys watch that. I've got new brakes and stuff to put on here. I don't think that I'm going to do that today. I just want to get these done, you know, while my buddy comes over. I've also got all this stuff to tighten up, the drop down brackets for my sway bar, and I got the steering brace for my new Detroit axle steering box. So I'm gonna have to get that all tightened up in the proper order and torque to spec and whatnot. And then I've got my T-style steering coming, so I'll be getting that installed. But for today, we're getting these done, and then I'll be able to jack it back up and at least put the tires back on and feel safe working under here, because like the track bar kit that I've got, it requires you know, holes to be drilled, so I've got to be down there for a while and whatnot. I don't want to be underneath the truck on jack stands if I don't really have to be, even though I've got them doubled up on both sides. Yeah, I still don't really like it, so we'll be getting to those projects pretty soon, guys. Got the first one maneuvered in there. Got the bolts just kind of finger tighted for now. Now we're going to work on the lower one. And I ended up putting the grease fittings up because I know that I can get to that one for sure. This one I'm hoping that I can get to, but I feel like I might end up having to take that out and get one that's at an angle. If anybody notices, I made another mistake there, and I put my washers on the wrong ends. I put it on the nut end of those bolts, and it was supposed to go on the you know, on the shank of the bolt. So I had to pop those back out and change it. All right, YouTube. So got the bottom one in, got it all tightened up, retightened up the brake thing. I'm gonna jack this side up and put a tire on it. I do still got to do my brakes and do all that, but I want to get the other side's control arms on and just feel a little bit safer about all this. I've got shocks coming. Don't have one installed on this side, but that's fine. So, alrighty, that's what we're gonna do. Alright, YouTube. So we got the other tire put back on, and now we're back over to this side. At least I feel a little safer. It's got somewhere for all the weight and stuff of the truck to go. So now we're gonna drop this shock tower and the shock and everything. Got the jack under this side now, and I'll let it down once all this stuff's loose, so I can pull the shock and put my bigger spacer on this side. Well, then I'm still waiting for my new shock, so I can't really put it all together, but I'll at least throw the lift spacer in there. I'll get it jacked back up, and with the control arms put in. So got this side dropped down, had to clean it all up, but now it's wet, so I can't paint it. So once it dries, then I'll be able to kind of throw a little bit of paint on the rusty areas, and cleaning up the bottom of the spring right now, so I'll be able to kind of blend the rusty areas into it like I did on the other side. And the places where I kind of mashed, trying to get the bolts out and stuff, little marks I left, I'll just kind of paint over them, little scratches and whatnot. So that's what we're doing. Got that placed in there, the spacer. This still ain't dry, so I can't paint it. I think I'm gonna get a towel or a rag and try to dry what I need to paint so I can get this reassembled. Wire brush some more, scrub some more, got it all dried off after we washed it, and now I threw a little bit of Rust-Oleum on there. Just the coil buckets there, and the sides where I'd beat them up a little bit. So just a little touch to try to make it a little better, make it not rust so much and be so fugly in her old age. Up the top and the bottom of this coil touched up. Had to use a ratchet strap to get this axle to pull into place to get that hole lined up. Just a little tip for you guys. Alrighty, YouTube. So I had to take that other tire back off because it kind of kinked it down and it wasn't allowing these in. Used another ratchet strap, pulled the axle back over. Pleasures of doing things out in the driveway. So I had to take that tire off, jack that side up, and then we were able to use ratchet straps and kind of move this end around and get it all where we need it to. Now we jacked that side up, kept the ratchet strap that's keeping the truck straight. Now we're going to get this wheel back on and just call it a wrap for the day. My cam bolts, I just arranged them at the same spot, which I just chose straight up, which I figure is you know, part way in their range or whatever, and with the little arrows, and use a wrench on the back side of that bolt and hold it, and then tighten the nut to where you can hold it in the right orientation for, you know, your camber or whatever. Make sure to match them up on both sides. Alrighty guys, hit like and subscribe, follow along. I still got the track bar to put in, I've still got the steering to put in, I still got to tighten all that up, and yeah, then this front end will be all wrapped up. So stay tuned for those projects, guys. But most of all, guys, believe in what God gave you, man. Know that you guys can take on these projects too. Know that you guys can build things and fix things and create things. Just know that God made you guys for a purpose, man. Don't get discouraged. Don't be giving up. Till next time, keep building shit.